afternoon, everybody. I have 2 o'clock right on the nose. I figure we'll get started. Before we jump in, I just want to have a few housekeeping things. I love seeing all your faces and hearing all your voices, but I am going to mute folks just so we don't have any feedback for our speakers. So do not be offended. We definitely want to hear your questions. I'm just going to make sure that I ensure that everyone can hear. So if you do want to ask a question, feel free to pop it in the chat, raise a hand, or unmute yourself. We don't have a huge group, so I think that could work today for sure. Our sponsor today is Assurance Mortgage. Unfortunately, they were not able to be here, so I'll just give a plug for Assurance. They've been a longtime supporter of ours, and I'll make sure and pop their web address in the chat for you all. But let's get to the main event. So I'm very excited about our guests today. We have the Virginia Department of Transportation. We have Kelly Hannon, and Dara Fry is with us as well. Kelly has been a long-time face for VDOT and a wonderful supporter of ours, and has frequently come to talk to us about things like the Chatham Bridge. I think that was the last in-person meeting that we had. It was in February or early March of 2020. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, what a mess it's going to be with the bridge down. And here we are, less than 2 years later. It's an amazing piece of infrastructure. My family has enjoyed walking out on it a couple of times now. And I think there's probably some good news to share with that project being open and serving our region. But I also mentioned that it's hard to find a region in Fredericksburg that doesn't have transportation construction. I think that's a testament to how much we complain here in the Fredericksburg area. We are good at telling our elected officials that things are tough sometimes on the roads. So there's an amazing amount of stuff to talk about. I do want this to be interactive and make sure that you get your questions answered. No road project is too small. No intersection is too small. So if you have questions from clients or just from yourself, if Kelly doesn't have the answer in her brain, which there are many of them, she has always run them down for us. Something as small as a stoplight or mowing grass in a VDOT median. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Kelly. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Kim, and thank you to all of you for your time. I know all of you are driving frequently on our roads, and so I think that very often you're identifying congestion challenges and maintenance concerns earlier, maybe than some other residents in the area, as well as I know that travel and traffic is a big deciding factor for many of your clients when they're choosing a home. So we're really pleased to be able to share you kind of a glimpse of what's coming up for 2022. But as Kim shared, if there's project you really wanted to know about that you didn't see covered today, we're going to share our contact information at the end, and we are always here for you 365 if you have a question. My cell phone is going to be in there. Just please give us a call and we'll be happy to help you and your client. So without further ado, I'm just going to share my screen and we'll get started. Okay. Oh, please someone stop me if it's not appearing for you, but it looks like it's there. So I'll dive right in. We're going to start where we have the most traffic in the Fredericksburg area, naturally Interstate 95. It does carry about 150,000 vehicles a day. And you're looking at our brand new, beautiful southbound Rappahannock River Crossing Bridge. This picture was taken in the summer before we actually finished the bridge, but we do have all 6 lanes open now. And we're very fortunate. I'm sure you all have seen the construction cranes, but this is about an $800 million investment on the interstate that we have underway right now, which really is probably the most work we've seen in a generation on the interstate in the Fredericksburg area. So I'm going to take everyone through the 3 biggest projects that make up that program, the Improved 95 program. We are extending express lanes 10 miles to the south. You've probably seen it end kind of just south of 610 up in Stafford. We're taking it another 10 miles down to the Route 17 interchange vicinity in Stafford. They will be reversible just as they are today. So they'll go northbound when we need northbound capacity the most, and they'll flip around to go southbound when we need southbound capacity. It will remain free 24 hours a day for people who have vehicles with 3 occupants or more. So van pools, carpools, transit, or just whenever you happen to have 3 people in your vehicle. And then vehicles with 1 or 2 occupants will pay a variable toll that will change depending on demand. Construction right now is about 51% complete on the project. And under the contract, it was supposed to open in October of 2022. That is currently tracking a little bit behind, but we hope to have a little bit more information next year. Then down here at the river, right between Stafford and Fredericksburg, I know many of you have probably experienced our new decision point here just north of Route 17. We're calling it Decide Before the Divide. And the concept with our I-95 southbound project was that, we have so much traffic traveling between those two interchange at Route 3 and 17. You've got 17 traffic, all that commercial traffic coming in from the west. You have just through traffic going between, the mid-Atlantic states and then to the south. And then you have just, everyone living here, traveling for work or school, jumping on the interstate, maybe to go one or two, interchanges. So we needed more capacity right here at that spot. And the southbound Rappahannock River crossing started in 2019. I'm pleased to say it's going to wrap up this month, about 5 months early. Right now, it's not operating at full capacity. So if you have been in it and you've experienced a little bit of a congestion going between 17 and down to 3, they're finishing some barrier wall and some kind of punch list items that they really couldn't do before they opened the bridge. So we're wrapping that up, but we're really planning for the year-end holidays that we should have all lanes open, all features open, so people can really experience that project the way it was intended to be driven. Just one other change coming up on that project I wanted to highlight. One big benefit was going to be kind of an easier merging experience from Route 17 in Stafford onto I-95 southbound by having a second lane on that merge ramp. That second lane will be opening here in December. And then we're also going to be reopening the loop ramp from Route 17 northbound to I-95 southbound. And so once that loop opens, you will no longer have to wait at a traffic signal to make that left turn to merge onto I-95 southbound if you're coming from that direction. You can kind of see a little bit of another view here. What will stay closed, I will say, if you are exiting from I-95 southbound to 17 in Stafford, we are going to keep that traffic signal down at the very end of the ramp. So if you're turning left to go to the Falmouth interchange, we will still be stopping traffic at that point. You probably through the spring, we have some additional construction happening for the express lanes and some flyover ramps we're building nearby. And so we have to keep that traffic pattern in place for a little bit longer, even though we're wrapping up with the Rappahannock River Crossing project. Then kind of the parallel project to the southbound one that we're finishing is the northbound Rappahannock River Crossing project, which is adding 3 lanes over the river from Route 3 to the 17 interchange. It's not quite identical, but they're fairly similar in concept. We'll also be building sidewalk underneath 17 from Short Street to South Gateway Drive, where the Target, essentially that shopping center, is located, just to improve access for pedestrians there. And then we're also going to be building a 4th northbound lane. You've probably seen the beginnings of it, as you can see in that picture, going from the 17 interchange north to Centerport Parkway. That'll kind of help with a lot of those merging movements that are going to take place when express lanes open, as well as just provides another way. If you need to go from 17 to Centerport, again, for local traffic, it's another option just to kind of help with that movement. While I was speaking with this group today, I wanted to briefly mention, I'm sure many of you have been coming up from the south, whether you made a quick run down to Kings Dominion or Richmond and you're coming home and you hit kind of, especially on weekends, that beginning of the congestion queue, kind of around Thornburg. So we're introducing something this winter, early next year, that we hope will promote safety as well as just maximize our throughput of traffic. And that's going to be something called variable speed limits. There's been a little bit of coverage about it, but I expect we'll be seeing more as we get closer to the implementation. But on I-95 northbound from about the mile marker 115, just north of Ladysmith and Caroline, to Route 3 in Fredericksburg, every half mile to a mile, we're going to have an electronic digital speed limit sign. We're going to take out the static speed limit signs. We're going to put in digital signs that when things are free flowing and conditions are normal, it'll display the speed limit, maximum, just as it does today, which is either 65 or 70, depending on where you are. But if we have a congestion just due to volume or a crash or weather conditions, we're going to gradually lower that speed limit in 10-mile-an-hour increments, just to help slow people down and prepare them for what's on the road ahead. So it really empowers drivers just to know what's on the road ahead. These signs will be paired with message boards explaining why the speed limit is changing. They'll be equipped with flashing beacons to call some more attention to them. Again, just to kind of almost as if you pour rice through a funnel. If you dumped it in all at once, it kind of slows the whole, everybody would stop. But if you can kind of gradually slow everyone down, we're actually able to move everyone across, down the interstate a little bit faster and a little bit safer. So we have detectors. If you've been driving that corridor, you've probably seen the installation of these signs going in along the shoulder. They're going to gather data, vehicle speeds, volumes, and we do use an algorithm that was designed just for this corridor that kind of detects when we need to start slowing people down, preparing them for that congestion or incident, as well as when we can raise it back up. That's an example, a little bit of a rendering of what you'll see when it's fully implemented next year. Again, just calling people's attention to the speed limit and then explaining why we're lowering the speed limit. I also wanted just to take everyone on a brief tour kind of around the region and share what's going to be coming up in 2022. In Stafford County, a couple of projects that will be starting this year. They are going to be locally administered by Stafford County. That means that there is state funding on the project, but that Stafford County is going to be choosing the contractor and leading that effort. And they'll be really leading communications and outreach on them. But I did want to briefly mention that you're going to see a project starting at Route 1 and Telegraph Road, kind of just north of that Port Aquia community up there, if you're familiar with that. They'll be making some safety improvements there. And then at Route 1 and Courthouse Road, there'll be a slight widening to help build some turn lanes and really help kind of cycle traffic a little bit more efficiently through that area near the courthouse, where just kind of due to the geometry and the tight configuration there, we're not able to run overlapping signal phases. So you might have noticed if you're ever at Hope Road, just north of the courthouse, everybody has to kind of take a turn at that intersection. We can't have multiple phases going at once. So that project is really going to allow us to move more traffic through those two intersections right there at the courthouse area. And then we're also going to be, Stafford County will be leading a project to build some sidewalk along Flatford Road, kind of near that Walpole Street area. Also for the Express Lanes project, many of you remember we did rebuild the Truslow Road overpass. So next up for that project, we'll be rebuilding the American Legion Road overpass, which is also connects to Weymouth Church Road, just north of the regional airport, as you can see there. We'll be rebuilding it as a new 2-lane overpass with a wider shoulder. That is anticipated to start in the spring. We're still deciding on the exact date in coordination with Stafford County Public Schools, trying to see what's the best closure date in coordination for their bus routes, but that overpass will close to traffic with the detour you see on your screen for about 9 months. And so we'll have a little bit more notification when that, those specific details are set. And then in Spotsylvania County, we do have a project starting this spring in the exit 126 area. It is going to add a second lane on the off-ramp from 126, turning right onto Route 1 southbound, headed toward South Point Parkway. We'll be widening Route 1 a little bit to kind of receive that traffic in a lane and then kind of help everyone make that turn onto South Point Parkway. We know there's a lot of demand to get off the interstate, turn right, and then turn right again to get on South Point Parkway to head back toward Courthouse Road. We'll also be making some safety improvements on South Point Parkway itself. There are a lot of turning movements between the different entrances there. So we'll be building some medians just to channel traffic a little better and prevent some of those conflict points where people are kind of making lefts out of some of those entrances. Some additional, it's gonna be a very busy year in Spotsylvania. We do have a project underway right now to build a new commuter parking lot just south of Spotsylvania Parkway at Route 1 and Commonwealth Drive that will probably really serve people kind of in that Lees Park area, that general vicinity. That's going to be finished in spring 2023. It's more than 700 spaces. We have a great, rapid carpool pickup and drop off area, which would make it perfect for slugging. On Route 17, many of you, if you've been in the Cosner's Corner area, I'm sure you've seen we're rebuilding that overpass across the interstate. We're widening it to 4 lanes. We're widening that section of Route 17 just east of Hospital Boulevard there, Germanna Point Drive. That'll be done very early in 2024. So we do have about 2 years left of construction on that project. On Lafayette Boulevard, if you're familiar with Powell's Market, the world's best hot dog, we're going to be building a right turn lane there, kind of extending it. Again, that's a really high demand movement. We have a lot of people making that right turn onto Harrison. So that was a project. We're going to be extending that right turn lane. So there'll be a little bit of construction there. On Old Plank Road, we do have a safety initiative. We're going to be kind of realigning the westbound right turn lane at Ashley Park Boulevard, just to really help with the sight distance for people turning out of Ashley Park. If that's in your neighborhood, that's a project that'll be coming up this year. And then probably the biggest project starting is Mud Tavern Road widening. That's going to be taking that road from 2 lanes to 4 lanes from the interstate all the way to Route 1, just providing more capacity there. And that will also be connecting with a new secondary road that's going to be built kind of parallel to Mud Tavern Road to serve some of the different parcels in that area. So that'll be about a 2-year project, and that will be really kicking off this summer. And then, as Kim mentioned, Chatham Bridge, we reopened the bridge deck. So that was a wonderful milestone. We were able to celebrate this fall. And so if you haven't had a chance, please do go out and enjoy. We have that new nearly 10-foot wide pedestrian path along the bridge. We are still doing some final improvements kind of underneath the bridge, just restoring what we call the substructure, those bridge piers. So that work is going to continue until April, but for the most part, we should just have, periodic single lane closures, and the bridge will remain open 99.9% of the time. We did have some full traffic stops this week very briefly, but we are really wrapping that project up. And then out in King George County, one of the biggest projects there is, I'm sure people, if you've been on Route 301, Maryland is replacing the nice bridge. They're building a 4-lane structure with 12-foot travel lanes. The existing travel lanes in the bridge are 11 feet. So there'll be slightly wider lanes, more lanes. And that project is going to be finishing in early 2023, so a little bit more than a year to go. They're going to open the new bridge, shift traffic onto it, and they're going to demolish the existing bridge once the new bridge is open. And then in Caroline County, we have 2 big projects coming up. We're going to be widening Ladysmith Road from 2 lanes to 4 lanes as well. So that project is going to be underway starting this spring and will take about a year to accomplish. And then also in a little further to the west on Ladysmith Road, we do have a spot safety improvement. We're going to be making some intersection improvements in Childsburg as well. And that'll be a shorter project, but that'll also be starting this spring. I do want to emphasize though, as Kim was saying, we have so much coming up. We have so many other projects in the pipeline. I know many of you have been following, you're very interested in, I'm sure, the new Veterans Administration outpatient clinic that's under construction, your exit 126. So, VDOT will be working on some projects in that vicinity. There will be a traffic signal at the entrance to that new facility there, kind of between Market Street and Hood Drive. So I know Spotsylvania County is working on some projects as well. So there will be a lot coming up, things that are in design, kind of underway now that, hopefully next year I'd be happy to come back and share, what's going to be under construction for 2023. But you can visit our website. We do have project pages for individual projects where you can learn a little bit more about what's funded and coming up in some of the later years. Finally, I do always want to throw in a pitch. I know many of you all really live on the road. I know, going between appointments. So there's only a couple hundred VDOT employees kind of in this various region, from our crews to our engineering staff. So we need your help. If you see something on the road that needs to be addressed, pothole, deceased animal, drainage concern, please do let us know at 1-800-4ROAD, or you can go online to myvdot.virginia.gov. We're open 24/7. Your request will be sent right to the office that handles that work. We love pictures. If you have one, that's helpful, but it's not necessary. And we're just really grateful for everyone, your extra set of eyes. I know many of you also probably share our passion here at VDOT for clean, beautiful roadsides that are litter-free. So I do always like to mention that we spend $3.5 million a year in Virginia picking up litter on our roadsides. And so we need everyone's help to keep our roadsides clean. And we have started an initiative, Virginia's for Lovers Not Litter. We do have a website. We encourage people to take the pledge, but I do just ask if anyone's ever interested in their neighborhood or community in starting a volunteer group to join our Adopt a Highway program. We provide bags, we do the pickup when you're done, we provide vests, some safety training and signs if you're interested in helping us pick up litter along a state maintained roadway. And just, we appreciate any support. We know, I think everyone on this call is probably really passionate about that, but we do like to share that about 3 in 4 pieces of litter that end up on the roadside were set there intentionally. About 75% of litter that's picked up has been put there. It's not accidental, flying out of someone's car. So we're all in this together, and we appreciate, just everyone's help bringing awareness to the need to safely dispose of waste. And those were some of the biggest topics I wanted to share, but I just wanted to turn it over to this group for any questions I could help with. And again, I'm leaving my contact information between myself and Dara. We're here for you. Please reach out anytime you have a question, and we'll be happy to do that research for you.
Well, Kelly, thank you. I can speak for myself when I say I've been doing these meetings now for 11 years. I think Kelly was actually at the paper when I first started here. And I feel like the refrain back then was there just isn't enough money to do anything. And now to see the incredible amount of construction that is happening on the roads around Fredericksburg is really just staggering. So thank you for, that was such a quick snippet of what's going on, and certainly by no means captures the amount of work and late nights and all that effort that y'all have put in. So thank you for that. We did have a couple questions in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the first one I see. Any potential projects with McLaws Drive and Route 3? This agent says it's pretty dangerous down there with people coming down Route 3, and you practically have to stop to make that right onto McLaws. Any potential projects in the queue on that?
None that I'm aware of, but what I will do is I'm going to take notes, and I will check with our traffic engineering staff, and I will follow up with Kim so she can share them with this group. So I'm not aware of anything, but I will ask, and I will follow up to see yay or nay. Sometimes they have some things in store I'm not necessarily aware of, but is that traveling from Route 3 toward Fredericksburg, kind of from Route 3 eastbound?
That's eastbound, yes.
Eastbound, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I will ask, and I will follow up.
If I'm wrong, please let me know. Oh, she says traveling westbound. So you're
traveling
going towards Culpeper.
Okay.
Okay. Route 3 westbound at the I-95 North ramp. Why are you not allowed to turn on red? So when you're getting off, when you're coming off 95, am I understanding that correctly? Coming off 95, is that right? There's no right turn allowed onto Route 3. Richard, did I capture that correctly? If you want to go ahead and unmute, Richard, that's fine.
No, I was specifically talking about where you're westbound on Route 3. You want to get on the northbound ramp. At the stoplight, there's there now. You're not allowed to make a right turn on red. And it's kind of ridiculous because the only potential conflict is coming from the
with the three right lanes that turn onto the highway.
Yeah, to turn onto the ramp. To turn onto the ramp to go on 95. There's no right on red allowed.
Kind of right by the U-Haul storage center.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Gotcha.
To get onto 95. Yeah.
Richard, I don't have the answer, but I will ask our traffic engineer, and I will follow up in writing with Kim so she can pass it on to you. But that's a good question. I'll find out for you.
Is the road that was closed at the KFC in Fredericksburg going to open back up?
No.
I'm having a hard time picturing where that is.
That is at Route 1. That's at Route 1, Hanson Avenue, and Princess Anne Street.
Yes. Thank you. Okay.
So right now, we made some traffic pattern changes there when we started the Chatham Bridge project. And a lot of people said, why? Because that's, miles away from the Chatham Bridge. But what happened was about 60% of people diverted while that bridge was closed to Route 1. So what we did was we didn't allow people to give Route 1 a little bit more time, green time, to keep it moving. We limited a couple of different phases, including people being able to go straight coming out of that Hanson Avenue neighborhood, or turn left to go north on Route 1, and then also for people on Route 1 north to turn left onto Hanson. So we recommended to the city of Fredericksburg, we did a presentation to city council that recommended keeping those in place, even though the bridge is back open, keeping those in place to help with the efficiency in traffic, because we do have a safety project that's going to make those movements permanent coming up in 2024. So rather than revert and kind of put all those movements back in place, we're going to keep them on a temporary basis until the 2024 project. We are going to have a public hearing for the 2024 project. But what I will say, I know those barriers are not aesthetically pleasing. And so what we are doing is we're putting in a concrete island in their place. And that can be landscaped by the city if they choose to do so.
Kelly,
Sure.
the reason why I asked that is because the traffic is backed up so bad on Hanson, coming out of Central Park, that it takes you forever to get through there.
So people, maybe trying to avoid Fall Hill, they make that left on Hanson and they come up to that signal.
Well, also, just the road that runs from Central Park to Route 1, it's also backed up that everybody's cutting through back roads and cutting you off, realizing they can't get through there when they get down there. There's just not but two ways of doing it, or three. You can go Route 3, which is horrendous at 5 o'clock. And you can go Central Park, which isn't any better, or you can go the other road. So I was just wondering, because that does relieve some pressure, like when 95 is shut down, or when we have a problem on 95. Route 1 right there in Fredericksburg is horrible, and there's no way around it. You've got to sit in that mess. And that's why I was asking, is it going to open back up and give people other, ways around all this?
I know. I mean, I think you've definitely given voice to, it's a very challenging spot, particularly on weekends, summer weekends, whenever we do have that interstate closure. I know I've sat in that as well on Riverside Drive and kind of those locations kind of coming. It's extremely challenging and frustrating, especially for area residents and people who live in that area. It was, I think, a very tough balance. But that was, I think, that was where the recommendation fell in the end. But I do think when we have all the lanes open, I know we're working really hard to improve the interstate. I think part of what I try and encourage people to do is for people not to get off. I think they see congestion ahead and they divert really quickly when there are no traffic lights on the interstate. And this is not so much for our, this group, but more for through travelers. People really are quick to jump off when they would be much better served by just staying on. We have a new program here in Fredericksburg called TRIP. We're giving towing companies incentives, for their response time when we have these big tractor trailer incidents. So I think we're doing everything we can to try and clear those incidents quickly and keep people who are on the highway. So we are working really hard at that, adding lanes. But I definitely hear you. I know it's a really tough slog when we have those big incidents in that area. So I think we never close the door on anything. I would say, I think it's really important for you to share that. And I'll take that back to our traffic engineering team and just see if they can, keep an eye on it. And if there's anything that we can do. I do know the city actually does maintain their traffic signals at those locations and within the city limits. But I will pass it on to our team and just for their awareness that you're noticing that on Hanson. But thank you for that question.
I think a quick one. There's a question about if you're coming off the highway from basically coming on Carl Silver, why can't you turn right? But from that dedicated lane for Carl Silver, you can turn right on red. Am I correct there, Kelly? It's when you're on Route 3 and you get over, you are not permitted to turn right on red from the Route 3 right turn lanes onto Carl Silver. But from the highway, you can turn right if no one is coming. Is that correct?
I know the location you mean when we made that safety improvement project. So I don't have that answer memorized, but I do have it. It in my files because we are asked that frequently.
Yeah, Lynn,
so
I drive that a decent amount. I'm pretty sure I come that way all the time in the morning. You can't take a right from Route 3, but if you're coming off the highway from that dedicated lane to Carl Silver, you can turn right on red.
Right. But the question, Kim, was why can't you from Route 3 turn right on red there?
I know it has to do with some sight distance issues and kind of how people are turning, but I do have that answer in my files, but I don't want to misspeak. So I will find it and I'll send that to Kim with the other answers. But I understand that. I think I understand that question.
Okay, another one. Are there any plans to renovate the Falmouth Bridge?
We're finishing up an engineering study that looks at options for the Falmouth Bridge. The Falmouth Bridge does need some rehabilitation work. So we're actually, basically coming up with some different cost estimates that would look at everything from, a really minor rehabilitation to, all the way through replacement. But again, there's no money or at this point, attached to those options. There's no schedule, but it is something our bridge engineer is finishing up so she can kind of share those options with the community and what the impacts would be. But I know that many people are very concerned about something like a detour, that would be similar to Chatham. And I have to say with this bridge, because it's Route 1, because it's the alternate to I-95, that's not really something we would be looking to do with the Falmouth Bridge. Chatham Bridge was kind of a little bit, it's in a different situation. It carries less traffic. So again, I think that's something we'll have more information on in the future, but we do recognize it does need to be, repaired and improved, just due to the condition and the age of the structure.
It looks old. It still functions well, but it definitely looks old. Okay, specific question. Let's see if we can get this one. On Rock Hill Church Road, a narrow old bridge was replaced with a very nice one, but it's only one lane. Why was the bridge not made 2 lanes? Rock Hill Church Road.
That's actually a temporary bridge. So we went ahead and put that in to make sure we could keep the road open due to some kind of rapid deterioration we experienced in the previous structure. So I will ask our bridge engineer. I know that was kind of done while we put together funding for the permanent replacement. So I will get an update on when that permanent replacement is expected, and the permanent one will be 2 lanes. So you won't have that temporary traffic signal directing traffic once that goes in.
Okay, and then a follow-up question for the hot lanes. And I had a similar reaction when I first got on them. I was like, where are the hot lanes? Are they already down here? Are they not here? So I think this is a great question to think about in the future. Where exactly will the entrance point be for the new express lanes? Because right now, nothing has changed from the last time. It's still at 610, right? There's that big flyover. There's no change in that. But going forward, where will those entrances and exits be on the north and southbound lanes for the hot lanes?
Right, they're going to be north of 17 and from 17. So they'll be, if you're accessing the ramps from 17, you'll have an option of entering express lanes, as well as kind of just north of that, if you're in the general purpose lanes, just north of 17 for it to get on. And that's kind of where the exits will be. So kind of right near Route 17, if you've seen some of those flyover ramps we're starting to build, we're sort of going to have kind of our own little mini Springfield interchange in that vicinity, because you're going to have all of those different movements coming on and off express lanes in that general vicinity. So basically, the tolled express lanes facility will be from Route 17 north. And so the lanes that we just opened here at the Rappahannock River from 17 south, and the ones we're building from Route 3 to Route 17 at the river, those are untolled lanes. So those are going to be free, open to everyone. And so the tolled express lanes facility will start north of 17. But we're also adding a new reversible ramp at the Courthouse Road interchange area. And then we will also be adding access at the Quantico exit, at exit 148, as part of the express lanes facility.
Thank you, Kelly. Just an update to Route 1 and Fall Hill. Dara popped in the chat. We had a design public hearing for Route 1 and Fall Hill Avenue intersection improvement project in September. The city submitted a project to redesign the intersection to reduce congestion and improve traffic flow along the Route 1 corridor. So thank you. Okay, we had a question. Repairs to broken edges of pavement on secondary roads. I'm sure that's even a bigger issue coming into the winter months when that seems to happen a little bit more. Potholes, that kind of stuff. So where does that stand? Oh, Kelly, you're muted.
Okay, sorry. My microphone button drifted out of the screen. Please let us know. You can either, if you have a specific location, you're welcome just to email it to me directly, or you can send it to our 1-800-4ROAD number, or go to that my.vdot.virginia.gov. That's our customer service center. Just let us know what road they're on, and we will get that to our crew to get them taken care of.
Thank you. Okay. I will say there was a huge pothole last year. I live in Idlewild, going up that hill by the Home Depot. My husband had warned me to swerve out of the way, and in just a few days it was filled. So thank you, that works well. I just had a sort of random question. Maybe you don't know the answer to this, but I think it would be interesting thinking about how things have grown and changed in this region over the last, 2, 5, 10 years. Are there daily traffic counts, vehicle trips that you maintain that you can say, okay, in 2010, crossing over Route 3 over 95 had this many vehicle trips. Then in 2012, it was this, 2015, and just to see how that has grown. Because I know it feels very frustrating as a local sometimes to head out there. The Thanksgiving weekend was just crazy on the roads. It was a strong incentive to not go anywhere because it seemed so congested. But it seems to have changed over the last 10 years. Do y'all keep any numbers on those vehicle trips?
We do, and they're available to the public. They're on our VDOT website. We publish them. I can send that link to Kim, but we do.
That would be
We
very
have
interesting.
counters that, we can either do mobile counting or we have counting stations. And so you can actually look even in subdivisions and secondary roads all the way up through the interstate and different ramps. We do have annual traffic count data that we publish. So we can track, and it goes back, honestly, decades. So we do have that information available, yes.
Yes, Dara just put it in the chat. Thank you. I can't wait to check that out. That would be really cool. Perhaps we can take some of that and put it into like an infographic for some of the areas around here that could be cool for agents to share or not share and scare people away from moving to certain neighborhoods. Okay, is there any intention for the possibility of a left turn off River Road at the Chatham Bridge?
No, there's not. We know that was a really beloved movement, especially for people kind of living in the Ferry Farm area of Stafford, but it was a conflict point, and putting it back in, unfortunately would have just led to some pretty serious delays, as we do expect more and more traffic is going to travel over the bridge in future years. So we felt like this was the right moment to go ahead and make that change. We looked at a number of different things, such as adding turn lanes, to kind of, could we widen it there? Could we put in a roundabout? But because of the limitations there, so close to Park Service land, so close to the river, it was just a really challenging location. So at this point in time, we do not have plans to put in a left turn lane for River Road traffic onto Route 3 business eastbound. But I understand a lot of people miss it. I do understand.
So this may have already been covered, but is there any, are there any projects to expand Route 1, like in the Cosner's Corner and South area, considering how much residential growth there is in that corridor now? I know that you drive down there, it's still pretty wide open, but seeing all the number of apartment buildings and such that are in that corridor, any plans to keep ahead of that?
There is a smart scale project, which is Virginia's one of our funding programs. There was a project approved in the last round for that program that would very slightly, kind of at a spot location, widen Route 1 to make some improvements for people turning left to get onto I-95 northbound. We talked today about the project starting this year, or starting in 2022, kind of at that southbound ramp. So there's a slight widening there. We did just wrap up recently a Route 1 corridor study in Spotsylvania County. And so we have kind of a lot of different concepts to kind of help with congestion, help with a lot of those intersections that were made as part of that study that Spotsylvania County could pursue, in the future as, for potential funding. But we don't have any kind of, I would say, wide scale Route 1 kind of at this time scheduled.
Okay, this is a great question. Are there any additional projects that will now be possible as a result of the infrastructure bill being passed?
I know that Virginia is going to put together a plan, and that will be presented to the Commonwealth Transportation Board. So that is kind of the 17-member board. The members are appointed by the governor. It includes the Secretary of Transportation. And they pass the budget every year for Virginia's transportation program, not only for highways, but for rail and other modes. So they're going to be looking at those revenues, and they're going to be making some choices. So if you have some thoughts on how you'd like to see that, see those funds allocated, that plan will be in development and then presented to the board at a future.
And then outside of the CTV, will the local MPOs have any input, or will it be a smart scale project? That was such a focus, was to keep kind of the politics out of the road dollars. But if the CTV is the only one deciding, is there going to be any metrics? How do you think Fredericksburg will fare in that scenario?
That is unfortunately out of my lane. I would say that's a decision that's going to be made far, far above me. But definitely, I think I'm sure there will be a chance through the board process. There's always public comment opportunities through the board meeting. So I'm sure that is something they do at every meeting. But I think I just don't have information yet quite on that.
Okay. Any projects to build more sidewalks for more local bus services in Spotsylvania County?
I don't have any information on a sidewalk project specifically in Spotsylvania, but what I can tell you is that a number of the projects, like the Mud Tavern road widening, like Ladysmith, we're looking to do and making some pedestrian improvements whenever we do a project. We're required to look at making pedestrian and bicyclist accommodations through every new project we do. And so very often, most of them do have some sort of new accommodation. So a lot of the projects that I mentioned today are adding some sidewalk as part of them. But I don't know specifically if it's linked, directly for, that would make sense. I think we do look at things like that, look at the needs in an area when we're trying to make those decisions to see, are you going to have maybe people walking to a bus stop location, for instance? So I know that's something that they look at.
And the localities through FAMPO are doing an east-west mobility study right now. There's a stakeholders group, and a lot of that discussion has been focused on transit and not the corridor on 95, but how do we get local folks across our region? So that could potentially yield some interesting suggestions. Okay, will there be an entrance onto Harrell Road from the new subdivision being built there?
Yes, that is being built under permit currently.
Okay, that was an easy one. Thank you, Randy, for an easy question. All right, anybody else? I know they were coming in fast and furious there, but I feel like we've exhausted. Oh, no, thank you. Is the intersection of Blue Gray Parkway and Route 3 East on anyone's radar? It gets very congested and those merging east really clog up the right lane.
I'm not aware of a current project there in Stafford. I kind of know in that Ferry Farm area. I think I have the right spot. I'm not aware of a current project at that location.
And I did have a question about Leland Road and the path there, but as I understand, if I'm not mistaken, that has VDOT's already changed the plan for that, and that walking path is going to stay, correct?
Yes, the existing Leland Station Homeowners Association owned path. Yes, the proposal we've shared with Stafford County would be to retain that path and to build sidewalk from Deacon Road, connecting with their path. So we'd be building new sidewalk where it doesn't presently exist, and then just essentially connecting to their path as it stands today. But that is actually not, we are seeking, we've presented it to the Stafford County Board of Supervisors, but I believe they'll be discussing it at an upcoming meeting this month.
So we want to know how high was your panic radar when the dump truck hit Trustler Road Bridge, and has there been any long-term damage from that situation? It was almost like, it felt like it couldn't be real. It was like an April Fool's Day. It was the Onion reporting that.
There were some minor repairs that needed to be made, and so I believe they're going to be scheduled very soon. I think they've been trying to just find a good date to do it amid all the other construction work, but it was something very minor, and so fortunately we were able to. We know that was a very challenging day for this region when that happened, but yes, fortunately, the bridge was able to reopen fairly shortly after an inspection.
And did I see something about the Chatham Bridge already needing repairs? Did I see that correctly?
No, I think there was a little bit of confusion because we opened the bridge. It definitely appears done, right? But our plan was always to continue working underneath the bridge through April. So I think when we said, we were still doing some repair work underneath, people, it caused a little bit of unnecessary alarm. But it's open to traffic, but we're still working underneath it.
It was scheduled work to continue completion. Okay.
Yeah, so we weren't repairing anything that was just finished.
New townhome development on Harrison Road that will need access. What's the plan for widening that road, if there is any plan for widening Harrison?
We do have a fully funded portion to widen Harrison to the west. It's that little piece between Gordon Road and Old Plank Road. That is a revenue sharing project between VDOT and Spotsylvania County. We've had the public hearing for it, but it doesn't actually go to construction until 2024. But I do know that the portion you're talking about is closer to kind of the interstate, Harrison Village.
Right.
And they are building some turn lanes there under permit that were required as part of that. The county required as part of the construction of that project. So people will see sometimes some lane closures they do have there during the day between 9 and 3 while they build those. But at this time, we do not have any kind of wide scale widening of Harrison Road planned in that area, you know, from where we left off at the intersection with Route 1 over to Salem Church and Levels. We do have kind of an intersection improvement that's fully funded at Salem Church, Levels, and Harrison. That's going to kind of set the stage for maybe if there is funding down the road to, you know, to widen the road, it'll kind of just help align some of the different lanes at the intersection for people traveling east on Harrison Road, kind of coming from the convenience center area across that intersection. But no bridge replacement at this time of the interstate overpass or larger widening.
All right. Any other questions for Kelly before we go? I am not seeing any in the chat. Any final questions, thoughts? Anybody? All right. Well, I don't see any in the chat. I think we got everybody. So thank you, Kelly. This is always so interesting. And anybody, if you have any follow-up questions, please just email them to me and I'll share them with Kelly and we'll put them out to everyone. I'll send out this presentation too, so you can get all of the links and stuff. So please just let me know if there's any questions, shoot them to me in an email and I'll make sure that we follow up. This is always so interesting. And I guess we'll have our first bout with snow tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe my kids are hoping for a snow day. I am not, but it's always fun around Christmas. So you all have a wonderful day, wonderful holiday. And Kelly, thank you for your time. Dara, you too, for popping that really valuable information in the chat. And we will see you soon. We'll get you back next year to give us an update.
Thank you. And I'll be following up with answers to a lot of those traffic engineering items too.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.